Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with another knife video. Today's video is on modifying the Benchmade 119 Arvensis. Now recently I posted a video doing some field testing of this 119 Arvensis, and since that video I've put some significant field time into using this blade, and the one thing that bothers me the most is this upper thumb guard. I mean, I don't know if you'd exactly call that a thumb ramp or a finger guard, but what I found is that when I use the choil, and if you've been watching my channel, you do know that for my survival or wilderness blades, I do prefer a choil, but when I use that choil, basically I end up with a little bit of a hot spot where this upper finger guard pushes into the meat of my thumb right there. And what I'd like to do is hopefully come up with a way to modify this to soften the top here and give myself a little bit of a more comfortable grip so that when I do my close and detailed tasks, I'm not creating a little wear spot right there on my thumb. And so there's a couple of points that I'd just like to make. First and foremost is, I'm in the business here to kind of keep gear moving, keep trying new gear, and so in my opinion, having a high resale value on some of my stuff is pretty important, and I realize that once I modify a blade, I could be significantly or severely deteriorating the value and potentially not able to get a top dollar amount for what I'm going to be selling. And so with that being the case, you know that I'm serious about keeping this blade, because if I'm going to modify it and potentially get rid of all of its resale value, that's just a very important thing to me. And so I think it's well worth noting that if I'm getting serious enough about a blade to keep it and modify it, that's just a testament to how great the blade is. And I very, very much enjoy this blade. I can see me picking it up a lot, getting a lot of field use out of this, and that's just a testament to how great this blade really is. The next thing is, when I decided to take on this project, I did do a little bit of research to see if anybody had modified this blade. At this point, I can't come across any significant documentation of anybody who's modified this, so I'm not going to say that I'm the first, but at the same time, all I'm trying to say is I'm at this point willing to take a gamble, willing to see what happens. There's a couple of concerns that I do have in my ability to appropriately perform this and still get all the functionality, and so I'll explain some of those details, but at this point I guess what I'm saying is I just kind of see that I'm at least taking on a little bit of a gamble here to modify my blade without having any further information or research available to me, and so I'm doing my best at this point to figure out all the things I'm going to need to do to perform this task successfully and pull it off. Now again, with my plan being to remove this upper finger guard, what I wanted to look at right off the get-go is if that finger guard does actually aid in the retention of the knife in the sheath. And unfortunately, I think that could possibly be a yes. The way I look at it is you do have a lower retention point on the lower finger guard, an upper retention point on that upper finger guard, and then almost like a dimple that creates an indexing behind the choil. And so right off the get-go, I have a little bit of concern that if I do modify this and remove that upper finger guard, I'm going to add a little bit of a detriment to the ability for this knife to appropriately stay in the sheath nice and tight. So I think that's a gamble. I'm hoping that I don't pay a severe price for this, but at the same time, I'm still willing to give this a try. The other part of me says at the worst case scenario, even if this does end up loose, I can use this strap to hold it in place, either over the top here or underneath. Underneath would probably be better. I don't know, I'm hoping for the best here, and I guess we'll see what this ends up coming up with. Now what I'm doing is just basically getting an eyeball on what I think a straight line would look like here. Just trying to envision what this grind will be and how it's going to act. I mean, there are a couple of different approaches I can take here. I mean, what I'm really kind of taking a look at is the fact that I have an upper angle, I don't know what I'd call it. I have the blade angle, and then I have the handle angle. And I'm trying to find a sweet spot between the two where it's going to transition. And I guess what I'm thinking is I'm not going to make it a straight line, more I'm going to curve this little nub down and just soften it out to the point where it's not digging into my thumb. So anyway, I might mark it out with a marker here and see what it looks like. Let's give that a shot. So I mean, it's a little bit hard to see, but you can kind of see the line that I've created there. And I mean, I think that's what I'm pretty much going to try to do. I might find I grind it just a little bit lower there, and I don't know. Part of me just says, what the hell? If I'm going to do this, just do it. Figure it out as I go. And the other thing I'm hoping is maybe by the end of it, I'll end up with myself a 90-degree spine up here so I can strike my ferro rod in. So, I don't know. Let's get myself set up. And I might just put this right to the grinder. Let's give it a go. Alright, so now just to take a real quick peek at what I have going on here. I mean, I'm right in the middle of the process, but I do like to take a minute and just kind of evaluate where things are going. Unfortunately, I was just a tad bit sloppy and caught the spine just a little bit there. You can see that shiny spot. I didn't get too carried away, so I didn't round it out, so it's not a big deal. I'm sure that will just kind of eventually patina its way back to a dark color again. But anyway, you can see that I've been working the top of this finger guard down. It is very, very smooth at this point. And if I put my thumb there, I can still feel it a little bit, but it's not too bad. I mean, granted, you know, I am kind of, you know, feeling my choil through the tape here, but it's not too bad. In fact, now it's not really pointy at all. If you look at how really pointy and pronounced that finger guard is there, that was exactly the same on the top, and now it's significantly blunter. And so anyway, that's getting to be close. I'm going to take it down even further, try to get it to the point where it's completely flattened out and rounded out through here, at least to a certain amount. You know, try to get down towards where my guideline was, and I think that'll work. So anyway, just a little midway progress, and let's get back to grinding. All right, so in terms of using the machine, I think I'm going to call it there. I'm going to do a little bit of hand sanding to finish up the top here, but at this point, I'm very happy with the shape. I've been gripping the knife and it feels excellent in my hand. This nub here is just nice and soft. I was able to get a nice little curved sweep and a perfect shape to this. I mean, it's a little bit hard for you to see, but I got it really pretty close to even. I mean, as good as I can do. I don't do this all the time, and I'm certainly not the best at it. The tang is exposed outside of the handle scales, which is why you see just a slightly different pattern here, at least in terms of, you know, you can see where the metal's ground and then the G10 handle scales doesn't exactly line up. So if I had a slightly different grinder, I probably could have done a little bit better. But again, I don't do this all the time. So anyway, I'm done with the machine. I'm going to do a little bit of hand sanding to try to clean this thing up, finish this off, and hopefully come up with a final product that I am satisfied with. And so now, that is about perfect. Oh baby, does that feel good. I mean, I can't even describe to you the difference in how that blade feels. For me, that is absolutely perfect. That is not even sticking into my thumb anymore. It feels wonderful. The only question now is, do I still get the same retention in that sheath that I had before? And boy, do I hope so. Now, just really quick, I'd like to show you the detail for the work that I did. I mean, you can see that is pretty well rounded out. Basically, I used the machine to grind this as close as I could to shape. Then I went to the sanding block, and then I stepped the fine sandpaper all the way to 2000 to try to get that as close as I could to a pretty nice polished finish. The good thing is at that point, when you really start using your fingers, you can feel the curve of the blade and of that handle and get it to the point where it's really nice and it's a gentle sweep. And so, you know, I mean, that's certainly not a factory finish, but I'll tell you what, for a weekend warrior and a guy who doesn't do this all the time, to try to modify my blade to get a little better use out of it, that for me is totally acceptable and very, very nice in my eyes. And now finally, in terms of the sheath and the fit and the retention, still that nice click. A little bit of rattle. Now a little bit of play. You can see now that the blade is not indexed on the top as it was before. And so this sheath definitely does not fit the way it used to. If I take this strap and fit it around, it'll still come out, so that's not a good sign. If I pop it around, it'll still pop out there. So the retention on the sheath is not what it once was. I'm going to have to make an attempt to address that. That's very unfortunate, but that will be for another day. And as of right now, at least in terms of the blade and the comfort and how it feels for long-term use in a, I'd say, wilderness or camp or even survival situation, that to me is a nice improvement. So I still have some work to be done, but at least at this point I've made the modifications to the knife, and the rest will go from there. So alright guys, there you have it. A modification to the Benchmade 119 Arvensis. You know, I don't know if this modification is going to be for everybody. At this point, I hope I made the right decision. I think I'm going to have to call this part 1 of 2, and in part 2, I'll attempt to address the sheath retention issue. Not too sure what's going to come about, but hey, you know, you only learn by trying. I'd like to think that in this regard, I've at least taken one for the team. Like I said before, I have not seen any other videos or research done to show that anyone else has modified this blade in such a manner. And so, you know, I'm hoping that at least people are going to see this. Maybe somebody's thought about this in the past, and it gives them a little guideline to go moving forward. So, alright guys, I appreciate you stopping by. I hope you like what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.